My name is Braden St. Denis, and I'm here to talk about my cross-curricular unit plan on rising sea levels and convince you on why you should use it. Before we get into a breakdown of the unit plan, you can kind of see what it's all about. I'm going to talk about briefly why you should use this unit plan. So first things first is it helps students become change makers slash environmental students, and it does this by having lessons at the start that teaches them about rising sea levels, how they have occurred, who it's affecting, and then it builds on this by having them apply to how can we help the people who are affected by rising sea levels and how can we stop it from and mitigate the effects. Another reason you should use this is because it allows for inquiry-based work. This really allows students to develop their critical thinking skills and is an important part of aspect of teaching that you need to try to incorporate into all of your lessons and units. The major thing is it uses a cross-curricular approach. It incorporates 5 subjects, the main one being science, geography, math, language, and visual arts. So it is covering a whole bunch of different subjects and a whole bunch of different expectations. And then also it has a really strong culminating task slash assignment that kind of incorporates all of the work that's done throughout the unit and then also has them build upon that by coming up with a campaign for change in terms of rising sea levels. So they're going to pick a community, and we'll build on this later and we'll talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's a strong culminating task, and it's a big reason as to why you should use this unit plan. Getting into the unit plan here, it uses an interdisciplinary approach. It incorporates 5 subjects, which is science, math, visual arts, and geography and language, as I just stated. But the main focus and that overarching concept is the rising sea levels, and that's what you're seeing in every single lesson. The subject lines kind of start to blur. You're not really focused on a specific subject in a specific lesson. They kind of blur and blend together, and rising sea levels is that topic and term and concept that really overarches and takes over. So that's why it's an interdisciplinary approach. And that is a strength because it's a way to get a lot of expectations covered in at once. This unit is based on the Science, Technology, Society, and Environment Education, or better known as the STSE approach, because it frames students' exploration of rising sea levels as a complex, real-world issue that requires critical thinking to resolve. The reason I chose this approach is when I was planning out the lessons and kind of what this unit would look like, I realized that obviously science is the basis. This unit plan was created for a science course. There's a lot of science expectations and it's kind of based around science expectations. It includes technology, as in the lessons that we start to look at the applying expectations. We look at technology that could possibly help rising sea levels, and the students are going to kind of use their inquiry research to look into that. Society is a huge topic in here because we're looking at who rising sea levels affects, and obviously the environment, rising sea levels, climate change. So obviously you can see it's all connected. And I chose the STSE approach not only because of all the stuff I just stated, but because it aligns with expectations from the science curriculum and it connects to environmental education by helping students see science as a tool for understanding and addressing real world challenges. And obviously the approach is best used when it's used for problem solving, and that's exactly what this unit is doing as we're looking to solve the problem of rising sea levels. Another strength of this unit plan is that it has knowing expectations from the science curriculum and applying. So students are not only learning about rising sea levels, learning about water systems and how they all work, but they're also going to take that knowledge and apply it and try and find some, scientific discoveries and technological innovations that could possibly help the global water crisis and water and global water systems. So that's another strength of this unit plan. Now getting into the unit plan itself, so just talking about the planning schedule and kind of what that would look like. So it is 8 lessons, and we'll get into the calendar in a bit, but it is scheduled over 4 weeks. Lessons 1 to 6 focus on knowing for science, and lessons 7 and 8 really focus on that applying aspect that we talked about earlier. And so in this unit, students will learn about sea level rise, the data behind it, and they'll spend a lot of time focusing on how sea level rise affects communities and people all around the world, not just locally and nationally in Canada, but how does it affect people globally? And then how change is being made and how it can be made. So in lesson 7, they're going to really look at how is change being made? Is it enough? I don't know. And that's going to kind of lead into lesson 8, which is where they're going to work on that culminating task and they're going to kind of make a campaign for change on their own. So this unit plan also includes many different resources for further development of lessons. It includes a great NASA resource that I'll touch on in just a second. And it also proposes possible assessment strategies and opportunities. Each lesson has opportunities for formative assessment, whether it be through observation, conversation, or product. And again, I'll touch on this later, but that's just one of the strengths of this unit plan is that it's thoroughly thought out. There's great descriptions for each and every lesson. It goes from knowing to applying. It includes resources for further development and possible assessment strategies. So you won't have to look much past this unit plan to get it started. This unit plan also includes a hypothetical calendar, which is again another strength because it kind of shows you how you could plan it out. It is planned as if you had 180 minutes of instruction for this unit a week. Since it is integrated, we figured it doesn't have to only be in science class that you're teaching it, as it kind of like again those subject line blurs, so you can use multiple subject time to complete it. But so a few of the lessons have multiple days. On May 15th, there in that third week, I included a work period because that's kind of the end of the knowing expectations. And so they've kind of got all of the content that they're going to need. And so they have a few projects or activities that they might need to finish up. So there's a little bit of a buffer day there. And then also it is planned so that that last and final day of instruction is there in case that culminating task takes a little bit longer and they need that extra time to get ready for the climate fair. So yeah, there's lots of extra time within this unit and the way it's thought out. Some lessons will take multiple days, and depending on your classroom, they might be shorter, it might be longer, but there is that time there if you follow this unit plan. So again, just another strength of this unit is how much time you're offered. This unit also emphasizes the use of the triangulation of assessment. As you can see there, 30% of their final mark will be coming from participation, group collaboration, observation. So from the observation and conversation part of the triangulation of assessment. And this is really important because in every classroom, there's students with diverse needs, different learning types, and they may not always be able to show their knowledge and understanding through product. And a lot of teachers rely heavily on product for final grades in subjects. And so 30% of this unit will be based on observation and conversation, and there is opportunity to work more of that in, depending on how you want to do it. There's a lot of leeway in this unit, and yeah, so this assessment and evaluation strategy is definitely a reason why you should use this unit plan because it allows all of the students in your class to be successful no matter what their learning needs or types are. This unit also comes with a built-in hypothetical modifications and accommodations section. I chose to have a student with ADHD as my hypothetical student. It talks about information and instruction being chunked, providing the student with visual schedules, having frequent check-ins, and also allowing for choice and personalization of assessment, which is kind of what we just touched on that previous slide. And so this is just another great asset for this unit plan is it gives you this hypothetical situation. There are tons of students out there with ADHD or other learning needs that are similar, and it kind of just tells you how to navigate this unit plan with a student that might have those needs. This unit is also very personalized. I had to get really creative with it, and most of the time I was just kind of looking at the curriculum expectations that I wanted to cover and thinking of a few hypothetical lessons that would incorporate many different subjects in those expectations. What kind of got the ball rolling was a NASA resource from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, part of NASA, and it is linked in my unit plan. And yeah, so I tried to incorporate that lessons into my first that lesson plan into my first few lessons, and then the rest of the lessons kind of went on from there. So and I also made it inquiry based. Again, because of that critical thinking aspect, but also because of a note I got from my placement that and I was told that I should try and integrate inquiry-based learning more into my lessons, and so that's why I did it here. Unit plan also outlines some possible challenges, including time. Balancing all 5 subjects and the expectations can be hard. Unit plan will probably not go exactly to plan because, as we know, classrooms, sometimes it mostly never goes to plan. There's always some things that you got to change and be on your toes for. And then also the readiness for inquiry-based work. A lot of these lessons are based on inquiry and research. It's really student-led learning throughout this unit, so you need to make sure that your students are ready for this before you start the unit. It could be a challenge, but I just wanted to outline these so that before you use this unit in your class, you took the necessary steps that you need to do before. Lastly, this unit plan includes a bunch of examples of assessment tools for the many different activities and for the culminating task at the end of the unit. So pictured here, we have the KWL chart that you're going to use or can use. Again, you don't have to follow it exactly at the start of the unit and end of the unit to see what they know, what they want to know, and then what they learned. It includes a peer feedback form that you could use and alter for different activities, but this one is specifically for the narrative writing. And then on the right, there's that rubric that you're going to use. It's based on the achievement chart from the Ontario curriculum, and you're going to use that for the culminating task if you want. Again, you can choose to do it however you want, but I wanted to include these so that you had them at your disposal if you need it. In conclusion, you should use this unit plan because it's extremely well thought out. There's a lot of lessons. It integrates 5 different subjects. It has assessment tools ready for you. It gives you hypothetical situations for modifications and accommodations, and it gives you lots of resources to further develop the lesson plan if you'd like to do that. Obviously, everything that I just mentioned in the video is exactly why you should use it, and I hope once you read it, you enjoy it and you decide to incorporate it into your classroom.